You're good.
6 o'clock, so we'll call our annual organizational retiring board member meeting to order. Additions to the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Agenda's approved. We'll review the 2023 depository statements.
Don't need to go over them. Pretty self-explanatory. I know. So I don't have any questions. We didn't get any. We didn't get anything. We didn't get anything. Yeah, I forgot to send the. Sorry, I'll read you out again. I know. You let us know. We thought that was your. Well, it's like 6 months ago, what you were looking at, so.
Yes, we have a motion to approve the depository statements for 2023.
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Depository statements are approved. Finished business. They need to look at the abstract votes, which just need the vote count.
Oh. I will read off the canvas. The canvas states Ray Hauser received 246 votes. Christina Roby received 154 votes. Ashley Kachera received 291 votes. Tyler Akins received 305 votes. Kim Tickey received 143 votes. And there was a scattering of 4 votes.
We have a motion to approve the canvas votes or abstract votes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Election results been approved.
Yeah, you'll have to adjourn.
Okay, so I guess we need to adjourn the organizational meeting, so we have a motion. Second. Like, all those in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Go say no. Organizational meeting's been adjourned. Call the regular board meeting to order. So, you guys leave. Really relax here. You can explain Kim's her.
Because they spelled your. Oh, that's good. But it should be covered anytime and all. Okay. How was?
So Debbie had 11 years or 12?
12.
12, okay. I wanted to double check. Debbie said 12.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll get the right ones. I know, it's okay. No, we'll get you the right.
Get a Sharpie.
Yeah, so Sharpie. Like a whole other.
Did I get one?
No.
21 or 2? Or do you know?
I like it's, yeah, it's 22, 23 almost, but yeah, it's wrong, but okay.
Hand them back.
I remember it's 9/11. I just want you to know it's.
We'll get you the right.
Kim had 8, is that right?
Yeah, so Camp was 8, yours was 23,
Actually,
You
yeah,
would have started
22.
your 23.
and
Yeah.
yours is
12.
12.
It's okay.
They'll send us new ones.
Yeah.
It's- Now we'll have to just catch up to you again to get you the new ones.
Okay. I'm not coming
Come
back
back in
in here.
January.
So if you can scribe on there how many phone calls and hours and
Big
meetings.
events. I should have had all the
late
big
nights.
events
Yeah,
listed
right,
on the
right.
back.
I don't think that'd be enough room. Yeah, it's like say when I got on here, Colette and Debbie were already on. John could be here tonight, by the way. So I've learned a lot from you guys and Kim coming on. It's always been good because everybody's been pretty calm, level-headed, steady hands, you know, when tough decisions have to be made. There's a lot of them. The last 8 years anyway. Pretty troubling or hard times, but it's always been good to have good leaders and kind of lean on each other for advice. Good, so thank you for helping me along.
John also wanted to like echo his well wishes, but he is homesick, so he couldn't be here, but he, we would have said the same
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, John's been on here. 22?
Just, I think just a bit of money. I was on one term and then it came.
Yeah, that's a lot of experience around the table.
Yep.
Thank you guys for dragging me along with you.
Sorry.
Still blaming.
I know. You recruited him too? Yeah.
Right. That's it, encourage to finish.
Yep, Kurt needed to finish the job.
We're just being like girlfriends and like we sat around at your house, like trying to talk to you and she's like, you should totally do it, Debbie. You should run for the school board. You
No,
should do
that's
that.
when we weren't friends anymore.
We did that too. Sorry, but I'm thankful.
Thanks. You
I
guys are
appreciate
awesome.
all of your support. Stuff gets a little lonely, let me tell you. Yeah. So I appreciate your support. Those text messages all the time.
Right.
I do.
You guys have been a great board. So that's for sure. Like I hear horror stories all the time about school boards. And I always just say, well, it's just not how it is, Baxter. We just don't have that. So I just appreciated my 6 years and I've had with you guys the whole time. So that's really okay. Okay, we're gonna start crying. So we should just move on. to the next thing. Like, look at bills or something. That'll be nice. Or maybe we'll do that.
So I guess we can deal with the box.
Hey, the three of you want to stand for me? I'll give you all the oath of office at one time and then I'll call your names individually. Okay? Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board of Directors in Baxter Community School District as now or hereafter required by law? Ray Hauser?
I do.
Tyler Akins?
I do.
Ashley Kachara? Congratulations. Come on up.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
What's up?
Thanks, Mike.
You know, I just like that. Protect your quarterback. Protect your right side now. I'm taking it.
Great job.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for everything.
Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you.
I see you're hiding there. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
That's what you did.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Basketball.
Don't always take your spot.
Your science seats for the next 20 years. This is like, they all said it was crazy when you would Corey, like, you and John swapped
Yeah.
seats.
Yes.
We were talking about that, and Sue asked if we had assigned seats. I said,
You?
you know, it's funny because it seems like whoever seat they took, that's whose seat they took.
All right. So yeah, just I'm talking about the both for leaving, you guys. Big shoes to fill, big challenges ahead, I'm sure, like always. Thing I appreciate kind of what we just kind of said about our board here at Baxter, no matter who's on it. Bruce has been there forever too. We always discuss things, whether we agree, don't agree. We always have a discussion if it's needed. The hope of that discussion would be to at least come to an understanding or some sort of unanimous decision amongst the board. Move forward. It might not be the best approach from your eyes or my eyes or whoever, but I think the key is once we decide something, that's where we're going, and we stick together. We support each other as a board. We support the administration, the staff. We're leaders of this district, and that's very important that we stick together and we have each other's backs. Everybody in this building's backs. The hard part is listening to the community, right? Because you're gonna have people on both sides, friends, family that might disagree with you, and if they have a problem with something about school, you kind of run a proper chain of communication, right? If the teacher, they talk to the teacher first, doesn't get resolved there, it goes to principals, just kind of escalate. It's not our place to say, yes, we're gonna do this for that. So that's not our job, not our role unless it gets to that point, which I don't think I've ever seen it come up to a school board. I guess just the things I've learned over the last 10 years. Just kind of two words that come to my mind is commitment and respect. Commitment to this position, to the school, to this town, community, kids, students, and respect, like I said, amongst each other, with a community member that might not agree with. It's all about respect. I think respect in this world can go a long ways. I wish it would go a long ways everywhere, but I expect at least in Baxter, that's the way it should go, right? So everybody knows everybody, so just show that respect to everybody, no matter what their opinion or view. So that's kind of what I hope. I don't know if you guys have any questions or expectations or
we thank you in advance for your patience, because you guys have had a lot of experience, as we noted. And
We've all been
have a
there.
lot of experience. So
We've all been there.
things
So.
are gonna move a little slower now for a while.
I was a new board member one time. Michael was a new superintendent at one time. So, yeah, it's always a learning curve. So, yeah. Like I say, if there's any other questions or whatever, like I say, the respect. So.
I will say one thing, Ashley and I talked a little bit, before anybody else got here. She requested, maybe a sit-down meeting with myself, just to go over those board documents and maybe the financials I mean, you obviously don't know what you're looking at, you don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong. So, I'm happy to meet with you guys whenever you want. She said she's pretty flexible. If you want to meet all together, we can, or if you want to meet individually, we can, or if whatever time. So just shoot me an email with a couple of times, like maybe during the day and then maybe of the evening, so that we can just iron it out. Ashley said she's pretty flexible.
Okay.
So good to you guys. Good point. Good point.
Did you post it? Just
Well, we could. Yeah, we could.
Excited.
Yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah.
The way it saves
Yeah.
going over 3 different times.
Uh-huh. Yeah, let's post it.
Legalities. Already. Experience right there. Okay. See, like I say, if you guys ever have any questions. Okay, so yes, we can move on to election of a board president. Heard John say it 1,000 times, 9 times anyway. Agree, before that, I'd be happy to do it again. Is what it is, but if you guys really want to jump in and be board president, you're gonna need to have at it. John already said he wouldn't, he wasn't interested again, so.
Hard pass. Thank you.
Hard pass.
As I was making fun of John, I said, well, last year, I was
Well,
gone.
that's right.
I was on that, the only board meeting I've ever missed. They couldn't call in or anything. I've gone, we were on vacation. I was elected board president. I guess you have to be gone. He was like, John, you're gone tonight.
Payback.
But, So, yeah, okay. So,
So do you have to,
yeah, so if somebody wants to make a motion to president,
I'll motion it.
I'll second.
motion a second, all those in favor to elect Porter Robinson as board president, say aye.
Aye.
Say no. President's approved. So, are there any other changes to the agenda? Oh, that'd be principals.
We're gonna save them during the. Or we could do it during public forum, so they. Because that could be issue.
Either way,
Should we just move it up to public? forum?
Next one.
it's
Let's
pretty
do
much,
that, that way they.
well, it's right after.
Yeah.
All right, well, so we approve the agenda, so make a motion to approve the current agenda.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no, agenda's been approved. So we will come up, so a few years ago, we move on to the adoption of the procedures, date and time for regular board meetings. We use Robert's Rule of Order for the kind of the process and motions, seconds, whatnot. Right, won't change. Date and time, I don't know if you guys have any other. We've kind of moved on Wednesday a few years ago, just because there's so many kids' activities, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, so Wednesday was kind of a nice way that we didn't have to miss kids'
Right.
activity.
No, third Wednesday work for me.
Time, all right, earlier, later,
6 PM work for me. No, not later.
used to do 7.
This is good.
I would be asleep.
Okay. So stick with Robert's Rule of Orders, third Wednesday. 6 o'clock. For everybody.
Any motion?
All motion.
Motion, we have a second. Second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Saying no. Features and date been approved. So if you look through the consent items, that's bills from everybody, fun stuff to look at. There are times, just if there's just a couple questions, I'll like yesterday emailed Julie about a couple of things, and she just replied, yeah, this is for that. So something kind of similar, you're just wondering about, you're just
If you email us ahead of time, it's help, if you don't, it's fine, you can ask it here too, but if you do it ahead of time, we can do a little digging to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. Right. You have to email asking, so.
Can you tell us what you asked for?
yeah.
Just so I understand.
Who's about the bathrooms?
Yeah, there's a charge for AAA septic. Bag Tybo's out at the sports complex. I just wondered if that's what that was for. We really don't need them at the complex, so.
No, and actually we've canceled the service, so they'll be canceled until March.
So
They'll
just
stay out there still, but
not a lot of money, but it's like, why not? Just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staples, you asked about some staples.
Yeah, just if you see something on there, you're like, I wonder what that's for. There's money on there for staples. Okay, that makes sense for the automatic copier. Okay. So just if you have simple questions, it's not a big deal. So
Yeah, no, I think when I shared with Julie, I said, once you see month over month, you have more context to see what's variance and what stands out, but coming in fresh.
Yeah.
It's very hard to discern if anything.
Yeah, that's like the staples thing, it's like, you don't see that every month. So it's like, well, what was the?
and when it says Staples and it's $448, you think.
A lot of
A lot of things, but then when it's for 3 copy machines, for the automatic stapling, that's a little bit.
So just stuff like that, that kind of catches your eye is. Julie and Mike went pretty good about. Even if you ask tonight, Julie's like, oh, this is what it's for.
I was surprised with the expense to post the meeting notes and
minutes.
Minutes, yeah, the meeting
The
minutes.
minutes.
I'm like,
of the-
that's expensive.
Yep, every month and it's required.
They were talking about changing that law, but then I think the newspaper lobby. It's like fought against it, because there was talk last session of changing that to be able to just post it like in one universal place online.
Which is a little bit contradictory because we now have new budget rules in place that we now have to have two public meetings for the following year's budget, which requires more posting in the newspaper. So it's kind of a little bit contradictory.
Question you guys got, I see you turned off there.
No, I actually said it best, it's just, it's almost being able to see a whole year's worth of, I mean, it's so much to think through, it's,
It is.
is it, you know, do you even see it, but until you can actually go month to month and actually be able to look and compare. I mean, just looking at 1 month's worth of stuff, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's all.
And like I said, these are even compiled into groups, so I mean. A line item budget is 35 pages long.
So, at least probably, maybe at some point being able to see like, and maybe we did, I'm guessing, I know it's all there, but just be able to see it high level, you know, not broken out, but just month by month. Well, I guess we are.
Yeah,
that's-
That is right there. So
Yep.
that's where that was helpful, but then trying to pinpoint, okay, taking that down to the next level, just to understand what falls into that.
Yep, so let me tell you a little bit about this document here. When Mr. Seals left, board directed me to create a document that would help the new superintendent, whoever that was, and board members to decide, okay, is this month's expenditures in line with what we normally do, or are they out of whack? So you're seeing 5 years here on a rolling 5 years here of what it was over the last few years. Now, you may see something that's a little bit out of whack, like on some of those expenditures a couple of years ago from COVID-19. Well, we got $400,000. So then the expenditures went up, right? You're not seeing the revenue side of it. You're just seeing the expenditure. So sometimes you have to keep that in mind. What I do is from month to month, if there's a change, an increase of at least 0.5%, then I'll dig into it deeper and give you reasons down at the bottom why it's a little out of whack, or like in January, I don't know if you know this, but the AEAs get paid through the schools. So we don't get to touch that money, but it funnels through us. So we have to make that entry on paper. So every year, and generally in January or February, I'll make that entry. And well, that every year it's going to make that that month of the expenditures go increasingly high, you know, so I'll put it on their AEA, and then what that amount was, that's set by the state. And we don't dictate that. But so if you see anything that is 0.5% more or more than the previous month, then you should see some explanations down here. And then if that's not good enough, if you want a little bit more than that, then I'm happy to let you know. Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
This just helps us.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a lot of information. I mean, when you just like, oh, that's a lot of numbers, but it helps you decide, well, in February, we normally spend about this much money, and so that's okay. But then 2 years ago, February, whoa, it was out of control. Well, that's because we got some unexpected revenues for the expenses. Okay.
I think that's hard, you know, it's hard because like, say you look on the bills, see $5,000 for some piece of equipment that broke down. It was like, well, we got insurance money for that, so it doesn't really, it's not a full expense, so it's.
Yeah, you know, when we have a derecho, we received almost $1 million, you know, so you would see that, you know, the different funnels of monies. You have general fund, you have activity fund, you have the lunch fund. You have the save fund, which is used to be the 1 cent local option sales tax. Now it's statewide according to your certified enrollment. Then you have your PEPAL fund, and some of those funds can't cross over each other. So like in general fund, I can't buy a bus out of my general fund. Well, I wouldn't want to anyway, because that's where all my salaries come out of. I think I told you that our salaries range about 80% of our expenditures, which is normal. 75 to 85 is normal. We try to keep it on the low side of that, but and you'll see that in our annual workshop. You'll see all those numbers from the previous year, what we've done. And We generally work in 3-year increments, last year, this year, and next year. So last year's already done, but we're just getting those numbers in because I have to file the reports in September to the Department of Ed. So those numbers are just getting finalized by the Department of Ed. And so in March, when we have that annual workshop, those are the numbers that you're going to be seeing from last year, right? So this year, we're in this year, but there's not really much you can do on this year because we've already set contracts, we've already set the budget and everything. Also in March, we're working on next year. In April, we'll certify our budget for the following year. We'll work on negotiations in February or about there. We can't start till February. And so we're actually negotiating contracts and all that good stuff for the following year when just really as soon as the governor sets the SSA rate, then we'll get to work on the budget. And so in a couple of those workshops, you'll see how much new money we get, if we get any, and how we will spend that money. Generally, we pass all new money on to salaries. If in theory you think you spend exactly as much as you got in the previous year, I think it's not a secret that we've been overspending what we've been getting in the previous years. So we're on a budget reduction environment. So that's going to have to be something that you guys take into consideration when you're looking at contract increases or insurance rate increases, things like that all becomes a part of what that new money is going to entail. Okay.
Okay, so we gotta approve these. We'll take a motion to approve the consent items. Motion to approve. Get a second.
I'll second.
Favor say aye. Aye. Say no. Consent items are approved. Move down to correspondence. It's the only thing is the senator coming here next week.
Oh, yeah.
So they, yeah, we tell you a final time on that. I think I said 9:30-ish, 9:30.
Maybe you did, yeah.
Yeah, you can't make it. That's fine. I wasn't sure if anybody would. It's not
9:30 here.
Yeah.
So at 9:30 is for sure.
Well, said him that because he said 9:30, 9 to 9:30. So how about 9:30 at school? I'm sure that they're getting back, but soon we got that. So
Will we meet here?
Yeah.
yeah,
just
or
meet
maybe
at the border.
here
Or at
maybe
the
at your
border.
little- the mini border.
Yeah.
I just told him I'd try to find him out front. That way he wouldn't run around out here trying to. Yeah, I just thought kind of just to get to know you. Throw out some, so the problem small schools face this nowadays. You know, it's good to keep in touch, I guess. I've never taken the time to talk to a state representative, so yeah, be a good time to do it. Okay, so move on to public forum. Bruce.
Yep, first good. I was initially going to take up a piece of legislation that the state senator on the education committee informed me they had passed and been signed into law last year. But when I went to the Department of Education website and asked the two contact people, I think like 3 questions, I am still getting emails from them. I got another one today saying, we're putting a committee together to answer your questions. I didn't think they were that complicated, so I decided to go another aspect of the same thing that I've been talking about, which would be the legislation on harassment and abuse, because Basha is one of the schools that's been working very hard to keep children in focus, and especially since Dr. Clapper came and changed the elementary curriculum to what I've been pushing for when my kids were in school, so thank you finally. But you still have additional issues schools do, and you're very much aware of that. And so what I sent you in the email, the first item was a link to the Iowa Department of Education. It's the place on their website where they actually talk about this, and they talk about the negative effects when this happens to students in school. They lose focus on their education, so they're not really learning the lessons the way that they need to learn them, which is one of the reasons that there is also national civil rights legislation. You can go out there to the ESSA website or the National Department of Education website and find a lot of information regarding the laws, civil rights laws with that respect. So it helps to try to help these kids. You two who were in school, when my kids were in school, without looking at anybody directly here, know perfectly well what was going on then, and it continues to this day in spite of trying to do something about it. So after sending you a link to the Iowa Department of website where they go into various aspects of this and how it can negatively impact education, the other link that I provided you is just an example. This is not the only program out there. It's simply an example of ways of integrating into the teaching methods and classroom behavior. In other words, you're already doing some of this with the teaching methods that you're adopting now anyway to help kids learn the various disciplines of the curriculum. And that's essentially what this program does. It gets into various behaviors and interactions. You're just the teachers incorporating it, and you incorporate it into the behavior within the classroom. And they have components for each grade level up through high school. So I wanted to make this available, and I know I put a 10-page document, I put a lot of print screens, but I wanted to give you an overview of some of the things that are in there, the main points. So obviously, if you go to that one link towards the beginning, you can then click on everything else that's in those screenshots and get details up the wazoo of potentially things that you could be talking about at your teacher things on Monday that you have and other days when you put them together that they might recognize and be able to incorporate in their classrooms. And just as we're all individuals, you're going to run into individual situations that you find these classrooms, but it might give you some additional tools and things to think about that could help some of these kids and help keep them focused. And yes, I know everyone has different life experiences. They have different home experiences. Maybe it could help provide some additional support for some of that too, so things don't get too bad for them. And on the very final page then, I found a site that did an assessment of this particular program, and I put the link on there just to show you that you can go there and check to see what they saw as upsides or downsides or how they assessed the whole thing before maybe making a decision about it. That's all I wanted to bring up at this point. Maybe by January, the state of Iowa will answer my questions on this new legislation and they can bring that information because it does cover this. And the legislation itself does impose requirements for a form at both the school level and the State Department of Education level, and it's supposed to go over to the ombudsman's office. I just asked them 3 questions and they can't answer them at this point. So apparently it's new enough. They're still working it out too. So I can understand why you wouldn't have the details at this level either. So I'll try to have them by January when the legislature goes into session. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe start a discussion on the Wellness Center and the financing and kind of see. I know I had emailed Julie and make them back and forth. But maybe just to start the discussion and get going.
Sure. You want me to share?
Yeah, I it's been long enough before me that as far as the formation of it.
So, the current issue right now is the ongoing issue. It has been an ongoing issue, and it's no funds for the Wellness Center to keep it up. The same people are on the committee as are on other committees, and it's always the same people, and they feel like we ask for community members in fundraising over and over and over again, and they're tired of asking. They don't want to ask more. So we're looking at brainstorming how to come up with funding, how to pay for equipment and things like that. when it was established, we received a Harkin grant. And we had to establish some bylaws, for lack of a better word, of how those things were run. Of how the Wellness Center was going to be run. It was going to be for the community members, people who lived in this community. They didn't want to charge like a monthly fee or things like that. But we do charge for the price of the card. The cards are expensive. We charge $20 a card, and they last forever, and they're not specific to each individual family. You know, I mean, yeah, you could share. Or if they get lost or they no longer work, they're electronic, then they have to pay for a replacement. Otherwise, they could last forever. We do have, in part of those bylaws, it was a city school facility. So the city had agreed to help fund it, as well as the district, and we pay for the insurance, the lights, the electricity, the utilities, things like that. We clean it, things like that.
I think you guys also paid for some type of damage insurance.
Yeah.
Yes, yep, we do. And so, most recently, if the equipment got broken, we would use our breakdown insurance, the district's breakdown insurance, to help alleviate the cost to either repair it or replace it. But then the difference was coming out of the wellness committee, and any funds that they had fundraised for, because it wasn't always, the breakdown insurance won't always cover it 100%. So we're getting to the point now where it's, we need money to fund it. There's a couple of machines that are broke down right now. We're also having a bit of a security issue in that kids under 18 years of age are not supposed to be in there without an adult. And because there's not really any guidance down there.
Now, can they be in there during school hours as a class? Because
Generally,
as I understand, talking to Neil, that school comes first, so there's a class and 10 to 11 kids gotta use it over the public, the kids can use it. But when that happens, I would assume there's a teacher with them or something.
yes, that's true.
But they don't.
And I would say it's rare that they
Very
would use it because we have a weight facility and gyms and things like that. So I don't know of a time when they would go in there as an organized class during school hours. And so, we've got things that are getting broken, not being taken care of. There was a part to one of the pieces of equipment found out on the playground here just recently. And so.
Well, how do students, they can get in?
They're taking their
Parents' cards. So, a couple things that they came to me about was, how can we fundraise, or how can we get money to take care of the equipment? And then also, can we secure it a little better to keep what we have in place? Also, while the cards let them in and out, we really don't oversee that software. So if I wanted to know who was in there, I would need to call the company and ask them to do some research on it. And then they're going to charge us a support call fee and things like that, right? And that security system it's at least 15 years old. So, I mean, we haven't changed it since it's been in place. So the next question was, can we update the security system? So what they had proposed was to charge maybe a administration fee or an equipment fee on an annual basis, like $50 for a year is what they just threw out there. And to help pay for ongoing equipment repairs or things like that. Also, they're looking for some funds to upgrade the security system. They have gotten a quote from someone. It would be a completely separate system. And they offered the issue a little bit is when you're talking about collecting funds on a regular basis, who's the manpower behind that? Who's sending the invoices? Who's checking to see have they paid? Have they not paid? Are they active? Are they not active? That's just a question. So that will ultimately probably fall back on me, which is fine. But they're proposing that the wellness committee do it. Well, while this current wellness committee may be willing to take on the software and manning the software, they're not going to be on that committee forever. And then we're going to be right back in this position again. So the installation of this new system was around $3,800. But what it would do is tell us who the card belonged to, what time they checked in, what time they checked out, if they're active, if they're not active, it would bill them or not bill them. They could pay it online, the $50 fee or whatever. But that's all somebody sitting on the backside of it, pushing the button to make that happen. And that's what the wellness committee said, we're willing to be that person pushing the button, but that might help us for now, but it's not going to help us in the overall picture because we've got 5 people on the wellness committee and it's the same 5 people all the time. So knowing that this is a bigger picture, I had Bree check into our school security system to see if we could just add a reader to the door that already works with our current system. So we're not adding really any more work to anyone's plate because it goes along with our current system. And then also, if we, in that system that we're adding to our current, could we make it so just the cards are accessible to that door only and not any other doors? Because what we don't want to do is let them have access to that and then they can go around and get into the rest of the school. So it's my understanding that yes, we can do that with our current system. And they ballparked it around running the wiring, putting the reader in, all that good stuff, $2,500. So, which is less than the outside facility. We already understand the software. Bree looked into the reports. We have the ability to have reports to see who's in it, when and where. We have the reports that we could run so that I could bill people. That's the manual part of it. But if it's on an annual basis, that's not so bad. Also, we have the ability to turn the card off or on when we want to. So let's say Julie's little kid comes in there and breaks one of the pieces of equipment and we found out that it's them and they're not willing to pay or, accept it, we can turn it off. Or if they don't pay their annual fee, we can turn it off till they pay it.
Are there, sorry, are there cameras in there?
Cameras to see who's coming in, and who's don't have a camera in
In
it.
it, right.
So we can check, we know there's been damage, we can go to the camera and see which kids are coming in and out, but we can't see what they're doing in there.
Okay.
So we've dealt with that before, medicine balls getting up under, they're all, one of them gets a card from mom and dad and 9 of their buddies join in. And
Are
that,
there laws against putting a camera looking in there? Or, I mean, I just didn't know if
it would come down to who's, is that our camera? Is it?
The cities, is it?
Yeah.
When can we look at that camera? Is that a 24/7?
But putting a camera with a card that says, just that double proof that says, okay, camera plus the card, I don't know, then it makes it really easy to turn the card.
I understand I think it's the school's responsibility for maintenance. I mean, the day-to-day maintenance.
It is.
Yep.
Not the equipment, day maintenance.
It is. So I would assume a camera would be fine. It's fine up until 3:30. I just didn't know if we could keep the camera on at 11 at night,
Yeah.
even though we're handling it. I would sure think you could, but I don't know.
Well, you could probably add it with the safety
That's what I
grant.
was thinking, we just lump it in with all the other cameras.
You were talking about manpower to bill. Can you somehow loop the cards through the JMC portal? I mean, you can, it's a separate deal.
It's
Okay.
a complete-
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of you buy your passes to games.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's really a separate deal as well. While we'll charge you for those, we handle everything manually on the back end.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we print those cards and everything manually. So,
I think, gets back to Bruce's question, yeah, how, who or how do we pay for all this, right?
Yeah,
I think,
that's what I was wondering, on the Education Foundation, I mean, the directive about using funds for the Education Foundation. I don't think we've got a separate account for the Wellness Center. We can act as the pass-through. And we have to set up a separate account for the Wellness Center. That's pretty exactly what we're for.
we have that general fund in the Education Foundation. And in that, we keep track of wellness center donations. We have a couple of people who make regular donations through their employer as a matching situation. And we have about $2,500 sitting in there from those donations over the past, I'm gonna say 5 years. So we have that hasn't been transferred, that was specific for the wellness center that we haven't.
That's something we and I can talk and we need to go.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
What's broke down right now? Treadmills or what's?
Two,
Both treadmills?
two treadmills, I think.
Really?
Do you think it would be good to get a hold of the city, the wellness committee, the education foundation, the board,
that's what I said, I think,
and have a
don't must be done. Cause like I say, I don't know how all this was even set up.
Well,
Should there be an official 28E agreement? between
That's
Cook and City?
Well,
from what I heard from what Neil told me today, and you were there too, so you know as much as Neil would be, was that when the school was first built, the city paid for the brick and mortar. That's not right, you were there, brick and mortar, and the school pays for the ongoing maintenance. The city pretty much washed their hands basically beyond that, and it was supposed to be fundraising by the wellness committee for equipment. But obviously that's times have changed, and so.
That was always going to be the hang up. I remember sitting here with Neil and saying, this is great. We can contain that, do the cleaning, that type of maintenance, but these are gonna continue to break down and we do not have a fund for all, and things change, what the new technology or whatever the new thing in. And it was just left kind of that we'll fundraise for it. That's gonna be the plan when something goes, and it was clear, let's stay ahead of it like everything else we do around here. Let's replace one, let's get on a schedule like buses, and that worked for a little while, and then it's been pretty sketch for 4 or 5 years.
yeah, I mean, when Neil was here, we started out with used personal equipment.
Yep.
And now we've managed to go to the commercial equipment, which is more durable, lasting longer, things like that. But if you aren't taking care of it, or if, some illicit acts are happening down there that shouldn't be, then, I mean, wear and tear, I mean, we just need to, we can address what's happening right now, but I think we need to address it for the long.
I don't know how. I think someone mentioned before on 20 agreement, I'm not certain that worked. But who the 20 agreement would be with.
If the city agreed to help.
Yeah.
That's who it would be with, and it would be through the school, it would be between the school and the city, if they agreed.
Get funds and get care of.
Yeah, because I mean, we've asked for, right now, the school actually sets $5,000 a year aside that is supposed to be matched by the city on an annual basis, and the city hasn't done it for quite some time. To work on joint projects, and we continue to set it. What?
We were just saying, they did help with parking. Like Bryce emailed the other day and said the parking lot's ready.
Yeah.
That was the joint, our 5,000, their 5,000.
You want to cross the.
Yeah.
Okay, the old Shady Park or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just Michael had mentioned too, like the joint city, school.
Yeah.
Work session we do here.
Right.
I just like one, I found one from 2022 here, so a year and a half, a little bit. There was a wellness center committee, it just says there are a couple pieces of equipment on the committee, and the committee. The school are working on together to get repaired. That was it. So maybe there should be things about how do we fundraise?
Yeah.
Who's
responsible for what, kind of resetting those guidelines.
I just didn't want to, I want to be certain that the Education Foundation wasn't responsible for managing or anything like that.
No, I just, when I looked at old minutes, you can see where Neil was reporting to the Education Foundation on the Wellness Center, and every time he said, we need to fundraise, and those were always in those minutes, so. I think that's when a lot of donations were coming in at that time, and we were using the Education Foundation as the
So
pass
that's what it's for, the
Yeah.
501(c)(3).
Yeah.
That was,
And 3 or 4 years ago, when a wellness committee sort of got regenerized, they did a concerted fundraising effort, and the city put in 10,000, and the school put in 10,000. No, that's not right. We put in 10,000, and
there was a couple grants or something.
yeah, there was a big Harkin grant
That was
written.
initially.
Yeah,
The Lord one after that, he worked. Some equipment. But it's 10 years, time, that 15 years.
I don't remember it, but I could go back and look. I don't remember seeing anything in my history, but I know the school or the bank paid 2,500, the city put in 2,500, but it was a concerted effort of fundraising at that time.
Right. I don't know if, as a member of the Education Foundation, if we were to sit in on, do a little, sit down with the wellness committee in the school and maybe find out what they're gonna do, because they're gonna keep pressing everyone's funds and don't take any extra money. So I'm just saying the new board members have can do anything.
So they're going to fundraising already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Keep moving on, I guess.
You and me can get together over Christmas break and
Sure.
this is a calm and we can discuss some more funds for the.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Some guys.
We really need to get those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we just slide them in the Christmas report. Move on to Christmas report.
You
want to tell them to come in?
They wanted to, project some pictures or something.
Sorry.
Alright. Long.
What is this one called?
Like soft, like on. It's just a few pictures. We can see how it looks. Okay. Without.
I think this is called conference room.
Yeah, I think I'm just waiting for the code. I think I got it.
There it is.
Yeah, that was.
Screen, you want it on the board or do you want the screen down?
I can get the screen on.
Why did I should? The
Screen will probably be better without the lights. So.
Oh.
Sorry, yeah. All right, well, thanks for having us in tonight. We just want to share a little bit about our national convention trip that you guys approved for us that we went on back in beginning of November. So this year was the 96th annual national convention. They hold it in Indianapolis. So we traveled. We took our own vehicles this year. Darcy, Julie's mom chaperoned with me, and we drove out there. And in previous years, they've done the bus tours. I know, I'm sure you guys have heard about that, but this year we kind of priced it out, and the bus tour prices went up a lot. So we went on our own, created our own schedule. The students all helped me plan the trip agenda and kind of deciding what they were most interested in doing along the way and things like that. So it was fun to plan out our own schedule this year instead of just going on those built-in trips. So they are going to kind of go through and explain to you all of the awesome things that we did while we were there.
Okay, well, on our way out, we stopped in Rantoul, Illinois, where we went to Cardi's Reindeer Ranch. They were originally like just a tree farm, and they brought 2 reindeer from Alaska for like an extra attraction. Now they're up to about a couple dozen reindeer. It's very hard to pick a favorite event that we went on, but this one was probably mine. It was so much fun. We got to feed the reindeer and enjoy like all the other games and attractions they had.
And fun fact, gestation for reindeer is 7.5 months. We learned that on the trip.
They actually breed their own reindeer.
Yeah,
They do.
they breed them out. a lot of the students voted on whether we could fit one of their reindeer
The baby
babies to come home with us.
And they said that if we traded a bottle calf, we could take a baby reindeer.
Yeah,
So
they
we're
would
making
they would
another
make a
trip.
trade. So they want to make another trip down to Rantoul, Illinois soon.
When they buy their reindeer from Alaska, one of them goes for like $2,000. So I think we're getting the better end of it.
Then we got to convention the next day and opening session. There were 70,000 guests and members registered. And so at the beginning of those, there's line dances on the floor where everybody all goes down, and then just doing opening ceremonies and start going into things. They got some speakers. Here are 3 that we listened to. So Juan Bandana was a motivational speaker, and he talked about Be Like Pepe, which is a story that he told us in communication he was on, and just how to be fearless and go after your fears instead of running away from them. Same where he talked about swimming with sharks, kind of the same thing about how to attack your dreams instead of running away. The other one we listened to, Corey. He was the first African American national officer, and he kind of told us his path to doing that, and all that he went through and how he found his home in FFA. And Ryan Williamson said about the same thing for his retiring address, how he was not an ag kid, but he found his home in the blue and gold, and so listen to those 2.
One of my favorite parts was the Kentucky Derby and Churchill Downs tour. My least favorite part of the trip was waking up at 4 a.m. to go to it, but once we got there, it was a lot of fun. Miss Van Dusen was able to set us up for the morning tour, which means we were able to actually watch horses practicing on the track, which was really cool. It was really pretty with the sunset behind, as you see in that. Same thing. Sun is in the background.
We were there at 6 a.m. though.
It was rough. And they had a lot of displays. And they even had like a 360 movie room where they showed behind the scenes, gave a little like documentary of Churchill Downs and different stables in the area. We saw a lot of Miss Banderson and I saw a really cool display of Secretariat and depicting how his heart was like 2.5 times the size of a normal racehorse's. It was a lot more like muscles and things like that that made him the legend that he was. And our last stop before we made the journey home was Beasley's Orchard. They had all the like typical orchard activities. We went on a hayride where we toured the farm, and they told us about different kinds of apples they grow, and also a new system of apple picking that they're trying out. As you see in that picture there, where they plant a new variety of trees a lot closer together, so they grow kind of like a hedge, and then they pick the apples towards the alley, which was really cool. We could start to see how they all kind of grew together, and some of their like how they picked it. And they pick everything by hand. I think there's 6 guys that pick everything. And then up there is just some of the other activities they have for like throughout the season to keep making an income. And then there was all the like typical orchard activities. There was a corn maze, there was pumpkin launching, I think.
Apple launching.
Apple cannons, yeah.
Apple cannons.
A big like inflatable bag that you can jump on, and there's Trenton tackling Jacob Damon. And bags, which we got a lot of use out of those. And some delicious apple cider.
Yeah, so overall, we did a lot of really great educational things on the trip, but we had a lot of fun and a lot of bonding too. It was really awesome to spend the week with all of them, and just kind of get to know them a little bit more. 5 girls stayed in a hotel room together for 2 nights, and if you can imagine what that looked like the morning that I was trying to get them to pack, it was fun. But we made it, and we all came home alive. No, it was an awesome trip. Definitely looking forward to going again. It was really great to kind of, they had a play in what we did. And so it kind of really had the buy-in effect to go to the activities. It was great to see, they met lots of people. They had what was the total number of people that Ashton took a selfie with? we had a bet of how many people you could like meet from different areas all across the US because they come from, I mean, everywhere from Alaska to the Virgin Islands or FFA members. And so there's people from all over the country that are there. And so it's just awesome opportunity to meet people from all over that have same interests as you. One thing that they didn't mention that they spent a lot of time at was the Expo Center, which was a lot of career opportunities, college opportunities, and then also some shopping, which the ladies enjoyed. Spent way too much fun. But there is just really great opportunities. The guys spent so much time at the career fair expo, just learning about the opportunities with big companies, and they got some pretty cool contacts that they're actually, a few of them are pretty excited to look into. So overall, it was a great opportunity, great trip. So I appreciate you letting us come in and share. I do have a couple other photos of just like ag classroom updates if you guys wanted to look at a few things that we've been doing too. I'll be really fast, but just since we were here, I figured I'd show off a little bit of what the students are doing. So that first photo on the left, I had 3 students come with me to what they called Ag Biz for You event that's put on by Avela Bank, and they partnered with Morningside University, which is where I went to school. So it was fun to kind of bring the students back there. Denver, Slozy actually won the competition with her group with the products that they came up with. They had to find a problem, find a solution to the problem, and then give a marketing pitch on that product and how they would make it grow into put it into play, into effect in the field. She had, what did they call it? The buddy lift. It was a cool opportunity to bring either disabled or elderly up into equipment so they could still continue farming and be with their family and help out in the operation. It was a really cool idea. The other girls were in the second place team. So they had an awesome experience there. It was cool to get to show them some of my homeland too. They're actually standing in the greenhouse that I was a part of planning when I was at Morningside. The middle picture was from today. We went out to the Gowdy Tree Farm, and McCade gave us a tour and kind of talked about the history of their farm, how they started it, how long it takes the process of growing Christmas trees, seeing the fruition come from that, and then also talks a lot about their conservation and why they started planting trees and their CRP land and things like that with our natural resources class today. And then the third picture there is we are disassembling, which actually just finished disassembling some small gas engines in ag power and technology classes, and they're kind of going through doing a parts ID test to wrap up the semester. This was photos from a few weeks back. Our ag leadership class came into the 2nd grade classrooms and gave a lesson on what a day would look like without agriculture. They were all really nervous to do it, but did amazing, and they loved it. And the kids have asked me every time they see me in the hallway when I'm bringing more kids to their class because they thought it was so cool learning about agriculture in their classrooms for a day. So definitely looking forward to doing some more of that in the future. And then this is the last one. Our animal science kids have been really busy. On the left, this was a tour that we went on at Iowa State. We went to their dairy farm. They put on a dairy day and bring in guest speakers and activities for them to learn all about the science behind dairy production. And then the students all were in different groups and made actual models of different types of agricultural production facilities and just all of the things that go into the facilities with animal welfare, animal care, and all of those sorts of things. So this was one of the models that the students made of the actual dairy farm there. So Jeopardy channel. Yeah, so lots of awesome activities going on out there. So yeah, just a little update on what we've been up to over in the ag room. So yes, do you guys have any questions about the trip or anything for these lovely ladies?
I thank you guys for coming in and sitting through all that. And I think the only thing I would ask is if you've already put down some of your like lessons learned so that if you take a trip in the future, or you guys won't be going on that trip, but for the lower classmen when they go on the trip, what they should or shouldn't do.
Two girl rooms.
Two girl rooms.
Hey, I got you a hotel in walking distance to the expo center, and I only had 3 rooms left.
Full beds.
You don't have to share it with me. I was just saying something to consider sharing so that this can be
Easier
in the
to
future.
plan your own trip or just take a bus and get out there?
It's
a lot more fun, I'd say, to plan our own trips. So we could choose trips that we like to go on, that we're interested in. As far as like the Churchill Downs ones, we have a lot of girls who are interested in equine and their care and health. So that was a big hitter for us. And then also just learning about different types of agriculture that we don't normally see in Iowa. As while it may not seem like an agricultural field, learning about like gestation, birth, nutrients of a reindeer, things like that, kind of broadens our horizons to different animals that we don't normally see, such as like cows, pigs, chickens. And it was really cool to see the like actual technical side of like an apple orchard and how they pick, how they grow, things that go into maintaining an apple tree. That was a lot of fun.
I think we got more out of it as a small group too. I know when we went on the big bus tours, we had to go on all these tours with everyone that was on our bus. And I think a lot of us were more willing to ask questions and just generally be more curious in our smaller group rather than in front of a big larger crowd.
Oh, yes, we had 9 students total. So all of our seniors, officers attended, plus a couple other males that joined on, and then Darcy and I as chaperones. So there's 11 of us that traveled down to Indianapolis for 5 days. Any other questions? Thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Guys.
Yeah.
Or they said the Hawks still hadn't scored, so.
Little big goose egg. It's out there.
That's okay, no problem.
Goose egg, that building.
Yeah.
Within my class.
Sorry,
You going out that?
They have a lot
Oh,
of.
that's like up here.
They do, they expand, it looks to me like they have like flowers or something.
Yes.
They played your schedule out.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, pretzels report then. Doesn't want to get good.
You know, you're for sure. I'll go really fast, cause I was gonna talk a little bit about just some stuff that was going on at the ag. Most of mine is that I will say the tree farm with McKay Gowdy today. I wasn't out there, but what the kids came back and then she told me he had drone footage, walked him through everything, and being a former graduate, I just thought that was great. And our kids really appreciated that today and they did a great job. Wanted to mention our cooks and the holiday meal this week. It was phenomenal. They put a lot of time and effort into that. These are all kind of most Christmas or holiday themed door decorating. Appreciated your response because the greatest holiday movie of all time, Die Hard. We have one of the Die Hard doors. But if you haven't walked around our doors, just put you. The kids have done a great job with the teachers. Activity day is coming up next week. The last day, the half day, we traditionally have done the student staff basketball game, and we do a dodgeball tournament and pizza and do a lot of games and stuff in classrooms. So look forward to that as that last day of the semester. I know Haas will probably talk about that, and they do a lot as well. End of the semester will happen next Wednesday. The days are not even, but I still, every time I've advocated is still in the semester before Christmas. Just it's such a cleaner, and we start things fresh when we come back, but it's about 8 or 9 days off. And we really it seems every year, maybe fewer and fewer semester classes. So when you're in a year class, it doesn't really matter if the semester ends right here or moves on. But as you look at a calendar here coming up, you'll be looking at calendars. I believe most of them will probably recommend that our semester ends before the holiday break. Our secondary winter concert was Monday. Hass's the elementary's coming up Thursday. Ours was really well attended. It just, I mean, our 7th and 8th grade band and choir in the 25-26 range did a fantastic job. We have a lot of 6th graders involved in band. That's our first year. We just need the numbers to keep on going. Jamie Flanagan does a really good job. It was a really good concert. Appreciate our lighting, which we worked pretty hard on. Was it last year, year before, to get back on the stage, be able to light the stage. So appreciated that. Want to talk about our winter sports that we're off and rolling. Boys basketball is undefeated. Our wrestlers had a great tournament over Woodward. also appreciate we have wrestling and basketball cheer. It's been a long time since we had both groups and actually two different cheer coaches working wrestling and cheer. Our state dance was last 2 weeks ago down at Wells Fargo, and Morgan Ratliff won the entire state solo dance, which that's massive. And Reagan Russell was third. So to have two Bolts representing down there, we just a lot of great things going on. Finish the semester strong. Friday night's our Hall of Fame night. If you have it, it's a really great event. It really was a great event, and thanks to the Booster Club for really financially supporting that and doing a lot of the legwork, and Dennis is AD and Zach and I are on a committee, but we're bringing in this year, it's great. We're bringing in a Baxter Bulldog and Debbie Petermeyer Crampy, a Raider and Dylan Hansen, and then a Raider Bolt and Travis Lindemon, and then also a Raider and Tracy Cross. So I always like that we have Bulldogs and Raiders and Bolts, and owning our past and celebrating our future, and we're all Baxter anyway. So we have 4 that are coming in. We'll induct them Friday night at the game. So that's all I got. We were here 3 weeks ago. So getting to the end of the semester.
Will you still participate in the Hall of Fame even after you're retired? Have you thought about that?
They made this joke that I would. I didn't appreciate that joke, so I may have to get asked 2 or 3 times. Oh, one thing I do want to say, because you may have heard about this. This is, I hope, a tradition that stays on. Must have been 15 years ago. I read a book called Christmas Jars. It was just about throwing change in a jar. It's a great story. Back in the day when you couldn't wear jeans, we used to let people wear jeans and paid money. In this jar, we just would put the jar on people's doorsteps with the book, and not saying much more than that. It is just morphed and grown into this really awesome event that we can give back to. Angie told me, I think since Angie came, we're like at $9,000 we've given back to families. Last year was $1,700. We usually choose 3 or 4 families, and just could use a little boost at this time of the year. So now we do this big 12 days of Christmas auction where we give things like teachers can come in at 9 o'clock one day or leave at 2, things that cost us nothing. Hass and I sit in the class. A lot of the teachers have stepped up with homemade bread soup and having coffees delivered. The coffee shop is donating coffees to deliver, all these things, and we'll end up running $500 or $600 from teachers or anybody really just giving back for that. So that happens on the last day, activity day. Travis and I make sure those families get a little something just to help. So hats off to everybody who's donated and helping with that. That's really become a nice thing for us to give, because he's probably going to talk about the giving tree, which is also an awesome way. So it kind of gave our secondary a little bit of way to give back, which is really important. That's it. Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay. This is something I'll ask in every meeting unless you just proactively do it. It just comes from like when I have meets in my current role and when I met with board and team members and stuff, it was always, what is keeping you up at night? So I love that we're showing the highlights and the things that are going well. I also want to know what's concerning you, and it doesn't have to be big, but just if you can share proactively, or I'll ask
Absolutely.
what's keeping you up at night.
Right now it is retention and hiring of teachers. So we're at that time of year where we are hearing some teachers are leaving. We know of 1 or 2. We need to get moving on that fill. It is a monster out there right now. And you saw, maybe it was on the news today, Martinsdale probably going to a 4-day. And so now the problem is these outliers are doing 4-day-a-week schools, and it didn't really matter. They needed that to retain teachers. Now we start to get into the metro, that's going to be a selling point. So I'm not advocating or not advocating for 4-day-week school, but what's our selling point? We counted today talking in a team meeting. I think our last 7 hires were either begging, we only had 1 applicant, or we hired somebody that was willing to teach out of content. So we don't sit and interview anybody anymore like we used to, where we could bring in 3 or 4 people and find the candidate. Those days are, and I think we could have 7 or 8 in my building. I'm worried about that. And then this transition to my chair should be involved in that in some way, shape, or form, and how that is all going to work. That's kind of what's keeping me up at night.
Thank you.
You bet.
So you can go into the good stuff or you can share the worries right away.
I can tell you his worry, but yeah, so I'll start with the worry. The worry for me is the changes that we have in our elementary demographic wise, or just in the supports that we have in place currently and how they need to change to be able to meet the needs of all of our students that are now new or incoming. So it's a daily challenge for us to try and figure out the people that we have in places to be able to help support each one of our kids. So just it's a constant evaluation of our system and making sure that we have the things that we need. And if we don't, how are we getting the things that we need to help support all these kids? And it's a struggle right now because we are stretched really thin. And so trying to figure out who can help support in each one of these areas and what each of those kids needs. So
Is it mostly people resources that we need?
oh well, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, we need people. We need another layer of supports that we just don't currently have. And so we're trying to do things with what we do have and trying to manage it with that situation. So
Thank you.
yeah. So I'll piggyback a little bit on what Rob, I mean, obviously he does the jar, we do the tree, and the giving tree is where people within the community come take off an ornament off of the tree that's set up in Amanda's office, and they can buy presents and gifts and put it back under that we'll give to our families that are in need. It's an awesome thing. Amanda does a great job with it. They come in, they set their stuff down, she organizes it, hands it all out. It's been a huge success over the years. I think all of the bulbs were off in a day. And then on top of that, we have other people and the outside organizations that donate, check money, whatever, that ask us to just help give back in other ways. So it's been a huge success and always is. And so thankful to Amanda for really being the ringleader in that and setting it all up.
How many families do you have? Do you remember?
Yes, I think we have 15 families for sure that we are helping and possibly more.
Would
Depending
you
on
say
how
that that's increased over the years?
we try to keep it pretty consistent, somewhere right around that number.
Okay.
Sometimes more, sometimes less, but somewhere right around there. One of our big successes over the last 3 weeks since the last time we met is we finally feel like we're at full strength in the elementary because Bree's back, and she's been gone on maternity leave. She's back. She's a huge piece of what we do. Again, another layer of supports that I was just talking about that's actually been gone for quite some time, and now having her back, having conversations with her, watching her interact and do her job and coach with our teachers is uplifting, right? Knowing that when that's gone and it's not happening, and then I'm out of the loop a little bit as far as what's going on, she's kind of that conduit to help that whole connection happen. So she's amazing at what she does, and I'm appreciative of what she does with our teachers. We did have our gratitude assembly last month where we made gratitude bracelets, which was a part of our, we're celebrating students' successes, but going beyond academics, what they do every day, character skills, character traits, those types of things. We want to celebrate them each month. So that's been a great thing to bring back those assemblies to show all the great things that happen at Baxter Elementary that are not always related directly to academics. We do have our music concert tomorrow already, which is crazy. And Allison running it is I know what it'll be. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. And I have not had any hands on it this year like I was a little bit last year, so it'll be even better. She will take the reins and just run it, and that'll be great. So we're excited for that and what she has set up. And then obviously the book fair runs alongside it, which I think has been a nice partnership with those two programs to have people in and be able to get the books. And I know Greg does a great job of setting that all up. So one thing that did come out of our elementary BLT, and that's just an opportunity for me to talk with my teachers and kind of hear their voice and make sure that I am including them in every one of the decisions that we make in the elementary. We talked a little bit about trying to figure out how to eliminate some behaviors in the lunchroom, not necessarily behaviors, but voice levels and, some of that constant things that we deal with in there. And we got our TV that we've had up for a long time that kind of sits dormant. It's now up and running. And what we did was we put up and displayed all the elementary birthdays, all the middle school and high school birthdays are up there, middle school, high school sports activities, videos, pictures. Those now scroll as we eat lunch, and it's amazing what just having that
electronic does.
It's truly amazing to watch them have their eyes up there, and to know that my name's up there because my birthday's next week, or that's a picture of me. I remember when we did this in that class. So it's been cool. It's another kudos to Amanda. It was nice to come out with ideas from a meeting with my teachers, but then know that I have somebody on staff that can also put that together, because that would not be me. So anyway, lots of good. Rob mentioned the holiday meal was amazing. Our cooks do an amazing job, so that was great. And then I just think her highlighting the ag stuff and seeing that our high school kids are inside of our elementary kids classrooms is probably one of the biggest benefits that we have here. So we continue to try and partner with them to set up opportunities for our high school kids to come in and work with our elementary kids. And it happens constantly. It happens as much as Rob will allow. So it's been good, and we're excited about what's going on and excited for Christmas break.
Questions? When you mentioned Bree, who is that?
Bree Cook is our elementary instructional coach. So Dennis Vaughn would be the high school instructional coach.
Gotcha.
Bree is the elementary instructional coach.
Okay.
Yep. So she works directly with our teachers every day and working to help put in all of the things that we have and make sure that things are being implemented with fidelity, and that we're using best practice in the classroom and being an educational leader overall. So
She also helps with tech, and that's, somebody mentioned Bree and the doors, and the key cards. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
keep doing that
like-
anybody. I just-
Yeah.
a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's amazing.
Like us all.
We love her, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you very much. Good stuff.
Moving into open enrollment.
We have we'll do these separately. Okay, so, we have a request from Danielle Bauer for her daughter Jordan, to come from Newton. Because she recently moved back to Newton, but for various reasons, I'm recommending that we deny this, and I've been in contact with the family, and they know that I'm recommending that we deny that. We should do that one first, because the other ones are. I don't recommend it.
So there's board policies that allow us in this instance to deny requests, so. Take a motion to take the superintendent's recommendation, deny this request. Good, say,
I'll second.
those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye. Those say no. Application has been denied.
And then we have an application for Ryan and Carrie Fraser for their children, Philip, fifth grade, Savannah, seventh grade, Reagan, third grade, and Lincoln, second grade, full vaccinated to begin second semester. Savannah is currently enrolled here for extracurricular activities only. We had their older sibling, she must have graduated. A couple years ago back. So we recommend we approve that one, and then Samantha Everard for her son Asher to. Oh, no, we're not gonna do that. So we'll just do it the first one. We'll do this other one next month because it came in way after the deadline.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the Fraser family.
There's 4 of them then,
Yeah,
right? Okay, is that due?
They actually have a couple more that
Right,
are already here.
Okay.
And so they were homeschooled.
right.
Actually, it's been kind of off and on, but since COVID came, they were more homeschooled.
Okay.
Sometimes with a few of them just don't like extracurriculars, but now she feels like she wants them all.
Motion to approve the Fraser family's open enrollment in.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No. Been approved for open enrollment in. Down to the at-risk dropout prevention application.
this is a routine thing that we do, and we can ask for extra funding. And so what we need to, you have to read it just like it's written.
Well, I'll put it in the
Okay.
minutes like it's like that is.
I just,
That's really for me.
Okay.
before we do it, the amount that we request, is that like a pre-calculated
Yes.
based off of enrollment or?
Yep. And based off enrollment, and also there's a local match that goes with it. But we cannot ask for
We can ask for more. This is like the,
I figured it was a cap. I was just curious why.
Yeah, we'll get more from our local, but we just can't ask for the allowable growth for that part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
and this is one of those things that, for whatever reason, you might hear I'm talking about like at-risk dropout prevention equity. Different districts get different amounts percentage wise from the state. And, like some districts get 5% and we're not 5%, we're less. And it was from like long ago. They, for whatever reason, the legislature decided whatever your rate that you had picked for your district for that year was the rate going forward, and you couldn't go up because people who were at 5%, because 5% was the max that you could go to. So districts that were at 5 get to stay at 5, but the rest of any other district that wasn't at 5, they're capped at where they're at. And so there's always this talk about at-risk dropout equity. That's what it's about. So if they would change that, we could raise ours to 5%. That's right now we can't.
So that mountains, 95,653.
Yeah. And incidentally, all of that goes to salary.
My monetary amount's different.
Did you print it?
Oh, that was another thing I
Yeah.
emailed yesterday. There was two,
I had a typo.
yeah, there was a typo, the paragraph.
It's like,
Oh, down
Yeah,
there.
so
Okay.
they were switched a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I corrected it
Yeah.
today.
That goes again. Print your own.
No print.
I don't know why.
But,
There's always like things that's happening in the last minute.
yeah. we take-
Okay.
Yeah, so the amount on here would be the correct amount that I need.
Yeah, the 6 and the 5 just got swapped.
Right.
My fingers were doing the thinking. off my head.
We have a motion to approve the at-risk dropout prevention areas.
A motion.
Good second. So,
Second.
whoever in favor, say aye.
Is it a roll call?
It is roll call.
Okay, sorry, yes.
Tyler Reagan is second, Ashley Kachera. And Ray Hauser.
Higher here, yeah. okay.
Higher here, yeah.
Yeah.
And Corey Robinson.
Yes. Sorry, forgot about that. Roll call.
I have another procedural question real quick. When we're doing our motions and everything, should we be discussing prior to that, or do we discuss prior to voting? Like, if we want to have a discussion.
Yeah, so-
Like something like this that we just did.
Right.
What we,
Yeah, if there's like Tyler had the question, yeah, you'd
Yeah.
ask questions about. Say we want to buy a bus.
Yeah.
You would discuss that first, then you would make a motion, because once you make a motion and the second approved, it's done. So.
right, okay. I just didn't, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, any discussion you want to have, we'll just.
Make sure we have it.
And you can discuss it as long as you want, or
Yeah.
as long.
Or if all of a sudden we jump into something, can you yell out? I don't know, not yell out, but stop my vote from counting until I've at least gotten. If that motion's made, can we still have discussion or prior to actually? making
Oh, I
the
see what
vote?
you're saying.
Yeah, just in case I'm not quite clear on it.
See.
Yeah, you can.
You can after the motion, but not the second, like in between. Like if somebody makes a motion, you say, I would like to have more discussion on it.
I mean, generally, we try to say, just get it, is there any more questions?
That's
I
fine.
try to do that
Yeah.
if I miss
Okay.
it time.
I just want to make sure being new, I just want to make sure I'm going down.
Yeah, it's a good
Thank you.
question.
Or just say, hold on.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Like say. Anytime there's any questions, yeah, okay. Like say, usually try to say, is there any more questions before we actually go into the motion?
Yeah.
But I might forget, or maybe even stuff pops in your head, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
But the facilities and transportations.
Just add a couple of little bullet points in here. So Bill is Bill Hanson and he's our facilities director. So he updated me and he's gotten a quote for the compressor and the ice machine. It was about $1,600, but he can turn that into that equipment breakdown insurance. So we'll be getting refunded for that. So you might see that as a bill, but just know that we'll get insurance money back for that. And then the garage door people, So we've had some damage with the big hailstorm last summer and we're still like working through all the fixings and all that kind of thing. They had told him that they'd come on Friday, but they didn't show up. So that was really frustrating. But like I say in the notes, it's on the one hand, you want to say, forget it, we're gonna go with a different company. But then on the other hand, then we get the back of the line of that company. So, yeah, so we just our hands are tied. So we're just slow and steady trying to get this stuff done, but it's just taking forever, it feels like. But Bill is on it. So John often asks like any updates. And so I'll try to update you each month as we get more things done. So there was a couple guys that came yesterday to work on a leak that was over by the gym. So they were on the roof fixing some things. So Bill really is kind of their main contact with that, and then they'll pop in just to explain to me what happened. So really no action to do that, just kind of.
Superintendent's report.
So I've been doing a lot of work on the next year's calendar. Rob kind of brought that up. We haven't really looked at the 4-day week for next year. That seems like a very systemic change that would take a lot of meetings and community input and that kind of thing. So the calendar, the samples I'm working on now are kind of more like just a normal calendar, a couple samples. We're working on those. I wanted to wait till after our first full day PD, which we had last week, just to get staff's feedback, because this is the first time, at least since I've been here, that we did the full day off with instructional professional development, and it was overwhelmingly positive feedback. The staff loved it. They learned a lot. And so a couple of the calendars I'm working on, one has several just very similar to this year's calendar with the full day PDs in them. And then another one has the dates kind of shifted more toward the beginning of the year. So kind of working on that, and then we'll send that out to the staff and get some feedback. And then we'll bring that to you. Usually that it comes to the board March-ish, and then you guys approve that, and then we'll roll it out to the community for the following year's calendar. Talked to Bryce Halter the other day, and one of those joint city school projects that we've worked on was, we're Julie talking about, we put 5,000 and they put 5,000, and we decided to work on the parking lot at the Shady Park or Geesey Park, because that seemed like it would be a really good use that both could use. So the district can use it during the day, kids can park there, and then during the summer, the park people could use the school, and if we have overflow. So it just seemed like a really good joint effort. And so it's mostly ready, and then in the spring, Bryce said they're gonna do a couple more things, but it's open for people to park in now. So that was great. One of the things that we have to do is a desk audit. So that's this thing called the portal. That's through the Department of Education. That's where all our state reports and stuff, or like where Julie got the numbers for that at-risk funding, that's listed on the portal. So we have to go through, they ask several things for this desk audit. So they need to look at board policies, and they need to look at professional development plans, all those sort of things. So we have to upload all those. And it used to be in the old days, they would actually come out to your school and do a site visit every 5 years, like the department would come and like make sure you're doing everything right. Well, now instead what they do is every year they do a smaller scale and you just upload it. And it was due the 15th, but I submitted ours a couple weeks ago and already got ours back approved. So that was a huge relief to have that done. And then the final thing is the IDEA. So that's the special ed desk audit. Something they started doing a couple years ago. I think this is maybe just year 2 of it, is they look at your special ed system and see how are your special ed students doing. So there's tier 1 is everything's fine, you meet the requirements. Tier 2 is you need some help, and then tier 3 is you need some intensive help. And so for both the last year and this year, Baxter got a tier 1, so that was great. So that was a huge relief.
So I'm just curious, so how does that get evaluated? It very different than like the scores from the annual exam that gives us additional support for that. So how are they looking at it differently?
So I don't know exactly how they calculate the special ed stuff. That's just so new. But with Rob's and Zach's, like the district report card, they have all sorts of specific criteria that they use to evaluate. And so I can definitely dig into that more and find out if it's available, how they determine what category you get. But I don't know that off the top of my head.
And what are the ramifications if you don't meet requirements? I mean, does that mean that you get additional support and funding or?
You know, there's no more fun.
Oh, you just get in trouble.
Just, yeah, it's get in trouble. So for tier, yeah, that would be awesome. But for tier one, we get, there's a few things that we just, everybody has to do. And then there's some like nice to do's also. I was just actually working with our AEA consultant today about, we're gonna meet next week. Or in January, the first week back, and go through some of the procedures of, you know, the things we have to upload. But then if you're on tier two, it's all those things plus more things, and it's more directed, like for us, if the things that we need to focus on, we can choose if we want to look at, it's K-6 literacy or secondary transitions. But that it's a district choice. But if we're tier two, they tell us you will do this, and then tier three, it's you'll do this, and we're gonna come out and make sure you're doing it. So it's just different levels of oversight.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So. That's kind of, I mean, just kudos to those guys. They always steal my thunder because they go first. Lots of great things, lots of great work going on both buildings, and yeah, we're just ready to get to winter break, and I'm excited for Zach's concert tomorrow night. Allison does an amazing job. And Hall of Fame night will be a nice night. It's always fun to have. There's a lot of the college kids are back, and so they'll come to that game. So it's just a good kind of holiday feel.
So what are the things, anything you're concerned with?
Yeah, what keeps me up at night? It's actually the budget. It's because I know that that's the things that they need. And then I look at the budget and think, how can we pay for that? How do we afford to get all the support that Zach needs? How do we afford to pay teachers more money so that we can retain good staff? Like all the things I know those are the things we need, but I don't know how we can pay for it. So that's what keeps me awake at night. And how do we do that without raising our taxes sky high? Because we all pay taxes in this community, and we know that, you know, everybody's budgets are tight. So just if we want to raise taxes high enough to be able to fund everything we want, then families will suffer because they have, you know, their taxes go up. But if we don't raise the taxes and get the money, or the SSA isn't enough, we can't do the things that they want us to do. And so that's what keeps me awake at night.
And so you guys all have lists everywhere, and they're like consolidated and said, here's like the top 3 things that would make the most impact or most feasible. That can we go get pursued to see if there's grants or something like that that would help with it? I know you guys pursue everything, but like, is there an option out there that we maybe haven't taken?
Good thing to bring it up. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that there's a place that will support and do grant writing for you if you qualify. So like, if there's a specific thing, can we go to them, request the grant funds so that we don't have to rely on our own budget to do it. Things to think about if you could bring forward, here's specifically the thing that I need money for that we can go see.
On our end, it's nice to go to certain places and hear other schools and how they do some of the things. So one in our situation, a lot of schools are starting to add a therapeutic classroom of sorts, right? And how that looks in each district, and small schools versus large schools, and how small schools can fund that and have a therapist in school. And so it's been nice for me to just reach out and hear the different perspectives on how they've gotten that support inside of their school. A lot of it is, again, comes back to grants. So what's out there for us to go see if that's something that we could obtain, and then how does it look in a small school that's not necessarily in the metro? Because we're talking, you know, those are another profession that there are a lot of therapists out there that are, right. I mean, that's just it's another thing. So that's one that for us, we have looked into. We're in the research part of that phase and trying to see what that looks like here and how that could maybe come to Baxter, but very infancy stages, and, you know, looking at see what's available. How do other people do it?
Yeah.
How could it work here?
With the overall just question around grants, how are they currently, how do we? I'm gonna ask this as a general question, but like just how do we go about finding them in the first place? State of Iowa send us send you guys an email saying apply for this, or do we have to go out and look for it? How do we come
Yeah.
about them?
It kind of depends, like sometimes, like with the safety grant. We got an email saying this was happening, you can apply for it, and so we did, and so that's gonna get us $100,000 for safety enhancements. So sometimes it's like if the governor has like an initiative and they want that to happen, then you can apply for the grant and you'll most likely get the grant. And then there's other grants, like Julie and I applied for a FEMA grant with after COVID, and it was
Those are actually federal grants.
yeah, we just kind of, I think I found it and said, we should apply for this, and then we did, and so then we were able to get funding for salaries.
Extra manpower salaries.
And then there's some, like the early literacy grant, that's just something that you get every year, but you have to apply for it. And there's one that's a grant that's for smaller class sizes, a rural school improvement.
Yeah, it's what we call REAP. So that actually pays, we get about 50,000 a year for that. That goes for salaries to have small school size,
Class sizes.
class size reduction, yeah. There's actually a portal that we can go to as employees of the school that has all kinds of grants listed there that and the biggest issue is that they're all tied with regulations that you have to follow. So there's no grant out there that says if you approve this, use it however you want.
Definitely earmarked. I know that.
Yeah, and so, or it may be for schools who are greater than 1,000 students, or, I mean, there's just all kinds of stipulations, there's all kinds of grants out there. It's just a matter of we make those stipulations first up front to even apply for it, and then can we follow the rules once we get it, because they will check them.
But do we have a process in place that goes out and makes sure we're not missing anything that is capable of?
I would say no.
Okay.
No, it's more of a
We hear.
check
about
it when we have
something.
time, yeah, or we hear about it, we go to a lot of meetings, I have to go for licensure, Michaelin has to go, things like that. And those are all discussed at those meetings, at a couple of the meetings each year, the Department of Ed is there. And they'll say, the director will be there, they'll say, okay, there's these grants that are out there and you should go take a look to see if you qualify, or they for sure keep in touch with us through our associations that we belong to and keep us in the know if we haven't checked.
But there are districts that like have an on-staff grant person. I mean, that's their job, is to search grants, and they can fund that position with the grants that they get. Like it's self-funding. I know a superintendent in a district just to the north of us a little bit, and they hired a grant writer. So she does teaching, but then her whole afternoon is grant writing, and they said it's paid for itself. So it's really, that's just kind of like manpower. There's only so many things in the day that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I was really intrigued with the organization that actually goes out and they'll just do you can qualify to potentially they'll do the grant writing if you qualify. So we can get probably not, but if we could get money for free, that'd be great.
Right.
In the safety one, have we already earmarked what that's gonna get used for?
Yeah, we had to before we could even apply for it. You had to say how you're gonna spend it. So it's technically you could get $50,000 for a building. So we could get 50,000 for the elementary and 50,000 for the secondary. And so we've earmarked, because we had to put it into the grant itself, some cameras, some door locks, some safety barriers.
Can you use any of that for the wellness center?
We moved
The
the
cameras.
camera.
Cameras?
One of the cameras.
Discussing really?
Yeah, so we tried to make it as vague as we could.
That's one thing
But still-
you learn to do.
Yeah, but still,
right.
like,
You don't
need to
want
let
to
out a lot. So, like, we know we need cameras all over the place. We know we need cameras out at the shop, and we know we need some more cameras out at the complex. I mean, we've had community members come and talk about how we need cameras at the complex. We know we need them, but we don't have the money. But the grant makes it so that we can put them out there, so.
At some point, I'm curious if we've had any feedback on the pickup line and how that's going. I was curious if we could use any of it for that or to like fund somebody to help with it, because I know that, like, it's great that it's going one way, but people are backing out, kids running all over, so
It's
like.
way better than it used to be.
Absolutely.
But I agree, and we have people who don't follow the one-way sign.
Yep.
You've seen us post it on social media, you know.
Initially, we talked and when we talked about the safety grant of how we could keep it, or get the line on the other side where the actual elementary drop off is, and trying to decide how we can change some of that parking so that it would be a true elementary drop off and not down in the West Commons, right? So that was a discussion. It's obviously something that we always can look at and decide what's better, but
Well, we can Officer Dag it, like.
So when we decided this, we had the city involved with the decision of how to do that. And Bryce was here and we had those conversations. We used to have the drop off over on that side, a little pull in, and people ignored it and they just parked it. You know, and it takes city police involvement on a regular basis to maintain that. And we don't always have that.
We can do a joint session.
Joint sessions get longer and longer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, move on to personnel.
Okay, so we need a contract, approved contract for Ryan Hermit, Hermes, how do you say his name? Hermes. Hermes. I was looking at like Hermes. As the head varsity boys track coach. And that, are we waiting on Ian?
We're waiting on that one.
Okay, so just Ryan as the track coach.
Motion to approve Ryan as the varsity track coach. Second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Contract's been approved. So now we'll move into exempt session, discuss employment matters, confidential employment matters. That'd be like closed session almost. The 7:45.